You may have never thought of it this way. Within every drop of blood you carry, there may not only be DNA, but also an ancient whisper from the collective soul, a symbolic map etched over thousands of years by your ancestors. Since the dawn of humanity, as we gathered around sacred fires, blood has never been separate from the divine. The Aztecs believed that blood sacrifice was the only way to keep the sun's cycle alive, a price paid for light. In Christian Eucharist, wine symbolizes the blood of Christ, consumed as a way to become one with the divine. Why does blood, a physical liquid, hold such immense symbolic power? Could it be that something within the collective unconscious has always whispered, blood is the soul in physical form? Carl Jung, the pioneer of symbolic psychology, once said, "The most powerful symbols often appear in the simplest forms. So if your blood type, seemingly just a medical identifier, were actually a map of archetypes, would you dare to look deeper? Have you ever felt like you belong to a place you've never been? Have you repeated the same relationship patterns again and again? Have you felt pulled toward an invisible mission, something unspoken but undeniable? Maybe your blood is carrying those ancient patterns, not as fate, but as subtle signals from the unconscious, inviting you into a deeper journey of self-discovery. From type A, the ancient guardian of order, to type O, the primal spiritual warrior, each blood type might be a doorway to a Jungian archetype within you. In today's video, we won't just talk biology. We'll go further into the deep symbolic architecture of the human soul as Jung explored in the Red Book Psychology, in Alchemy, and Answer to Job. You'll begin to see your blood type as more than two letters. It might be a mythical character living inside you, a mirror reflecting your light and shadow, or a missing piece in the destiny you're being invited to step into. And here's the wonder of it all. When you begin to understand symbols, you are no longer controlled by the unconscious. You begin to dialogue with it. So, are you ready to take the next step? To medicine, blood is a liquid that carries oxygen and nutrients to sustain the body. But to symbolic psychology, especially through the lens of Carl Jung, blood is not just a biological substance. It is the primordial symbol of the soul's vitality, a memory in motion, a dream yet to be told. Imagine this. If each drop of your blood were a story, then you carry thousands of years of symbolic history, a collective memory encoded in biology. Blood as an ancient symbol where life, death, and the divine intersect. Since ancient times, blood has been central to ritual, mythology, and dreams. The Greeks offered blood to appease the gods. The Aztecs used human blood to feed the sun. In the Bible, blood represents covenant, atonement, and eternal life. Jung never wrote directly about blood types, but he was deeply fascinated by blood as a symbol of sacrifice, deep self, and transformation. In the Red Book, he shares a vision of a river of blood flowing between the world of the real and the world of the soul. Blood becomes a bridge between seen and unseen, between conscious ego and unconscious shadow. Have you ever dreamed of blood? Notice how such dreams are rarely just gruesome. They're often intense emotional messages trying to break through your defenses. Blood in symbolic biology, genetics plus instinct. In biology, blood carries genetic information, DNA, which defines your eye color, muscles, immunity. But Jung would ask, does DNA transmit only physical traits, or does it also carry the echoes of ancestral traumas, desires, and archetypal longings? This isn't superstition. Modern science epigenetics shows that emotions, trauma, and life experiences can leave biological marks across generations. In dreams, this might show up as a war you've never lived through, a fear without an origin, a longing you can't explain. Jung called this the collective unconscious. Seen this way, blood doesn't just carry biology, it speaks an ancient language that your soul expresses in symbols. Blood type as archetype, not a label but a mirror. If blood is a symbol, then your blood type is a categorized symbol, like the archetypes in Jungian psychology. Warrior, sage, Shurana ones, mediator. Your blood type might reflect your natural psychic tendencies. Type A, driven by fear of chaos, seeking structure. Type B, drawn to freedom and inspiration, yet prone to losing direction. Type AB lives the paradox, logical yet emotional, symbolizing coniunctio oppositorum, the union of opposites. Type O acts on primal instinct like the archetypal spiritual warrior. These are not boxes to limit you, but mirrors to ask yourself what is operating within me that I haven't yet seen. If you've ever felt different, if you've asked, why do I react this way, or felt an unspoken kinship with certain people, it's possible you're sensing the pull of an archetype within your blood. We invite you, leave a comment sharing your blood type and what archetype you resonate with. Join our community, one that explores personal symbolism through Jung's lens. Because the journey into the unconscious is not one to walk alone. In the next part, we'll begin to dive into each blood type as a living symbol. We'll start with type A, where the archetype of the sage and the perfectionist takes shape in every orderly detail, every act done for the sake of structure. But beneath that precision lies fear, and behind that fear, a soul longing to break free from the very system it created. Could that be you? Walk with us and let's find out. Blood type A, the sage, guardian of order in a chaotic world. If you carry blood type A, you may have often been described as careful, quiet, organized. But in Jung's symbolic world, these are not merely personality traits, they are signs of an archetype living within you, the sage. The sage behind order lies a search for the soul. The sage is not cold or detached. They are the ones who secretly fear that if they don't keep everything in its place, the world might collapse into chaos. They are often behind the scenes, quiet, unassuming, but precise, trustworthy, and resilient. Carl Jung called this the introverted judging function, a deep tendency to turn inward, to analyze and evaluate, not to judge others, but to rigorously scrutinize oneself. People with type A often hear a subtle inner voice, a standard and ideal that makes them constantly feel they are not enough. Does this feel familiar to you? Real-life examples when the sage enters work and love. In the workplace, type A, individuals are often the invisible thread that keeps everything from falling apart. They are the ones who proofread an email 3 times before sending, stay late to make sure the report is numerically perfect, remember the deadlines everyone else forgets. But they are also the ones who quietly burn out. Because even if no one praises them, they keep going. And if someone criticizes them, they punish themselves harder than anyone else would. In love, they don't open up easily, but when they do, they are loyal, deep, and responsible. They remember the little things their partner said or liked. Yet, they often suffer in silence just to preserve the relationship instead of expressing true dissatisfaction. Jung would say that is when the sage forgets that truth too needs to be spoken, not just preserved. The shadow of the sage, when standards become chains. Jung always emphasized every archetype has a light and a shadow. For type A, the shadow often takes the form of invisible anxiety. If I don't do this perfectly, everything will fall apart. Self-punishment, I deserve blame for not being enough. Disconnection from aliveness. I know what I should do, but I don't know what I truly want. Perfectionism, the very thing that helps type A create order, can become an inner prison if not brought into conscious awareness. What does Jung say about healing? Jung didn't tell us to eliminate standards. He said when the shadow is seen, it ceases to control you. This means type A individuals must learn to listen to themselves as deeply as they listen to the world. They must be reminded that imperfection is part of beauty. Most of all, they must dare to step outside their controlled world and touch the wildness they've long suppressed. If you see yourself in this archetype, or if you've loved, lived with, or worked with a type A, share below. What makes you feel like you have to get it right? Have you ever felt torn between the need for control and the longing for freedom? We created this community not to label you, but to help you see your soul map more clearly alongside others walking the same path. Up next, blood type B, the explorer, the rule breaker. If type A stands for order and logic, then type B in the next chapter is the living symbol of freedom, intuition, and emotional fire. They are the ones who may shatter the very systems type A builds, not to destroy, but to restore the lost vitality and creative chaos. If you've ever been drawn to someone with fire in their eyes, constantly shifting, someone who makes you fall in love, and feel exhausted, you may have encountered the archetype of blood type B. Stay with us, the journey continues. Blood type B, the explorer, the one who stands outside the lines. If blood type A symbolizes order and rationality, then blood type B is freedom incarnate, a soul who lives beyond the lines. Type B individuals embody the energy of the archetype, the explorer, and at times even the trickster. They don't conform, don't follow maps. They move to the rhythm of an inner voice whispering through their bloodstream. Type B archetype, the breath of renewal. Type B personalities may remind you of Puck in Shakespeare's plays or a young Loki in Norse mythology, not here to cause chaos, but to awaken frozen systems. They don't break rules out of malice. They do it because they see what no one else sees, the road not yet traveled. Carl Jung called this the transcendent function, a psychological mechanism that allows the individual to reconcile seemingly opposite forces and open the path to a unique kind of spiritual evolution. What is the transcendent function and why does it matter to type B? The transcendent function isn't a dry theory. It's a state where the mind holds tension between opposites. But instead of choosing one side, it lets them interact until something new is born. For type B, on one side they crave freedom and inspiration. On the other, society asks for responsibility and commitment. The transcendent function allows them to abandon neither, but to create a third way, a creative entrepreneur, a disciplined poet, a wild soul who keeps their word. This is the individuation journey Jung described, where the self becomes whole by integrating its inner contradictions. Real-life example of type B, between creativity and commitment. Let's take Mia, a type B woman working in freelance design. She's beloved for her boundless creativity and her ideas that break molds. But Mia often feels guilty for quitting projects midway, for losing steam. I'm afraid of being tied down, but I'm also afraid of breaking promises. Mia doesn't have a problem. She's simply caught between two archetypes that haven't yet been integrated. When she began practicing disciplined creativity, writing just 10 lines a day, she didn't lose her freedom. She rediscovered the inner rhythm she had lost. That is the transcendent function at work, not eliminating contradiction, but transforming it into a new form of living. The shadow side of type B: impulsiveness, isolation, and the journey back. Freedom is light, but without roots, it turns into escapism. Type B's shadow often appears as projects started but never finished, deep relationships that vanish overnight, a sense of being too different to be understood. Carl Jung would remind us, the shadow isn't evil. It's simply the part of us not yet brought into the light of consciousness. Type B souls must learn to meditate regularly, to observe their endlessly shifting thoughts. Practice creative discipline, turning ideas into reality even in small ways. Work in groups to build connection without losing selfhood. You are not lost. You are on a unique path. If you see yourself in this, overflowing with ideas and inspiration, yet also prone to loneliness and feeling untethered, share your story in the comments. What tends to sweep you off course? Have you ever discovered your disciplined freedom? Let us in this community walk beside you. Type B souls don't need to battle the darkness alone. You may be the first to find light within the chaos, but you don't have to do it alone. Next, blood type apt the sacred union. If type B is vibrant movement, then up next is blood type AB, where the worlds of A and B converge. Type AB individuals are gateways into unified consciousness, where logic and feeling no longer clash but become the two lungs of one soul. Have you ever met someone both gentle and rational, both intuitive and sharp? You may have encountered a living symbol of the coniunctio oppositorum, the union of opposites, what Jung called the center of psychological transformation. Stay with us, the journey deepens. Hoi ChatGPT. Iwu. Blood type AB, the mansion of integration. In the Jungian framework, blood type AB most clearly embodies the spirit of coniunctio oppositorum, the union of opposites. They are the space where inner contradictions merge into a harmonious whole, like the center of a mandala, a sacred circle where left and right, reason and emotion, light and shadow meet in a divine structure. When opposites meet, representative psychology and wholeness. In answer to Job, Carl Jung describes a God no longer as an all-perfect, omnipotent being, but as one containing contradictions, a force that fuels evolution in both humanity and the cosmos. Similarly, type AB carries two streams of energy, the logical order of type A and the free-flowing intuition of type B. This opposition is not a flaw, it is a source of psychic propulsion. When Jung wrote, consciousness only grows when it confronts itself not by rejection, but by integration. Like the God who must face his own shadow in Job to evolve the AB individual, does not simply suffer fragmentation, they are a landscape where new identity can be reborn from tension. The mandala visual map of integration. The mandala, an ancient symbol across Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jung's own introspective drawings, expresses a structure of inner order centered in the self. You can imagine the AB personality as a living mandala, not as rigid as type A nor as fluid as type B, but absorbing both and giving rise to new integrated expressions. A central circle uniting logic and emotion. Layers that connect them to community, creativity, organization, and personal responsibility. This represents a way of living in balanced opposites, which Jung saw as a vital part of individuation, the process of becoming a flexible, conscious, and authentic self. The light and shadow of ABUS. Like the God in answer to Job, type AB individuals also face dual realities. Light, deep empathy, flexibility of mind, ability to reconcile conflict between people. Shadow moments of disorientation, feeling like everyone's person but not your own, or sensing you don't fully belong anywhere. Jung once said, "The jewelry of light is always forged in darkness." For type AB, the journey is to see light within contradictions, not avoiding them, but using them to build inner structure. Real-life reflection AB in art and relationships. Imagine Emma, a type AB, working as a curator at a contemporary art gallery. She grasps the soul of art B while respecting organizational structure A. Emma can create bold exhibits, yet manage budgets, marketing, and team logistics. But when faced with the question, where is the line between freedom and duty, she feels torn. This isn't a failure. It's a crossroad of growth where intuition and reason touch and form a new identity, a life unified from both. Practices for balancing the AB inner duality. Centering meditation, focus on breath, observe internal noise, balance the inner polarities. Dialogue journaling, write as if you're speaking with your inner type A, and type B, find a path forward. Personal manifesto, write what you stand for, what helps you coordinate between creativity and order. Personal mandala, draw a symbolic circle divided into zones representing emotion and logic. Visualize your energy landscape. Are you AB? Let us know. Have you ever felt between two worlds but not fully in either? Have you tried drawing mandalas or journaling to connect your internal currents? Comment below, let's share experiences. Because personal integration can be a lonely road, but you don't have to walk it alone. This community is a space where ABs can show up authentically, complexly, powerfully. Next, blood type O, the warrior archetype. If AB is a glowing crossroads of inner light, then our final chapter will be about type O, the warrior, the instinctive doer. They are the ones who act like the unrelenting rush of a waterfall, the primal symbol of tribe and survival. In that final section, we'll explore why type O often feels like the pioneer of the rock during crisis. How their shadow impulsiveness, impatience is not a flaw, but the part of them that needs to be seen for true integration. Don't miss the final step of this soul mapping journey. It's the last transformation in your ancient bloodstream. Blood type O, the primal warrior. If type A represents the sage type B, the explorer, and type AB, the symbol of union, then blood type O is the warrior, the primal force, the widest scope, the most potent energy, an archetype of immediate action, unwavering resolve, and instinctive leadership. Sensing thinking axis, the power of tactical instinct. Carl Jung described two key modes of engaging with reality. Sensing, experiencing through the senses. Thinking, processing through logic and reason. Type O excels along this sensing thinking axis. They perceive through the body through instinct and act immediately. They combine sensing to read the environment and thinking to generate instant strategy. It's a kind of pure primal logic, swift, embodied, efficient. Ancient symbols, Hercules and Gilgamesh. The warrior's journey. The archetype of Type O echoes heroes like Hercules and Gilgamesh, legendary figures of persistent action and confrontation with outer and inner darkness. Hercules, with his 12 labors, did more than slay monsters. He wrestled fear and limits. He rarely avoided, he stepped into darkness. That's the O instinct, to face conflict, to evolve. Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, pursued immortality only to realize that being human isn't about eternity, it's about meaningful living. His was a journey of spiritual warriorhood. Like Hercules, the O type isn't aggressive for the sake of it. They feel responsibility for the collective to protect and persevere. Light and shadow, natural flow versus patience. Light. Rapid decision-making, situational analysis, sharp goal setting, and follow-through. Natural leadership, they become the go-to person in crisis. See, interim, shadow, prone to impulsiveness and intolerance of long processes. May ignore emotional nuance, becoming mechanical or dry. Act on instinct, then drop everything when momentum falters. Jung warned, any power that is uncontrolled can turn against itself. For Type O, shadow isn't cruelty, it's action without vision or victory for victory's sake. Balancing practices, heart-centered leadership and warrior stillness. Post-action meditation, use breath to recenter, reconnect to heart. Learn to wait, focus on the journey, not just results. E.g., journaling about action and feeling. Group dialogue instead of solo decisions. Practice opening to others' voices is a test for depth. HWC, Hercules warrior consciousness, doesn't mean winning every fight. It means knowing when to wait, when to strike, and when to listen. If you're Type O, you might reflect. When was a moment you charged forward like a storm without long thinking? Have you ever learned to stop, and how did that feel? This community needs your voice. Leadership doesn't have to be lonely. When you share your path, you not only heal yourself, you inspire other O warriors to lead with purpose. Next, RH factor, the subtle thread of collective belonging. If Type O is about individual action, then the RH factor. Our next chapter brings us into another realm, collective connection. It's the part of your blood that whispers whether you're deeply embedded in community or standing slightly outside holding a vision for the whole tribe from the margins. Let's discover how this hidden symbol completes your personal journey so you're not just a warrior, but a hero of the collective. Bloodlines, the key to your innermost essence. Pause just for a beat and listen, not with your ears, but with something deeper. A kind of inner hearing where your soul whispers softly through the currents of blood flowing in your veins. Perhaps you've looked at your medical report and seen your blood type A, B, AB, or O, and thought, just another boring biological fact. But as Jung once said, the symbols of the self arise in the depths of the body. The Red Book. What if your blood doesn't just carry oxygen, but carries collective memory and the invisible stirrings of an archetype waking within you? From knowledge to inner knowing, we've traveled through the symbols of blood, 4 mirrors reflecting aspects of the soul, i.e. the sage cloaked in order and inwardness. B, the explorer forever drawn to the new and untamed. AB, the harmonizer living at the edge of paradox and wholeness. O, the primal warrior carrying the burden of action for the tribe. And somewhere in this matrix, the RH factor adds another dimension. Are you one who belongs, or are you the seer watching from the edges? But you are more than any label. You are not confined by your blood type. You are a living process, a movement between shadow and light body and soul self and cosmos. A simple sacred practice. Try this. Sit, pick up a pen, and write. In my blood type, what kind of energy do I feel? Which archetype have I lived out even unconsciously in my life? What part of myself have I rejected that my blood might be whispering for me to face? Or draw. Draw a symbol that you feel represents your blood. A sword, a winding path, a gate that opens inward. Jung believed images are the oldest language of the soul. You don't need to be an artist, only honest with what lives inside. Jung and the return to wholeness. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung wrote, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. And maybe your blood type is not an answer, but a mirror. When you gaze into it, you don't just see biology. You see a living symbol, a part of your personal myth beginning to stir. Share your journey. If something resonated with you from this video, leave a comment below. What is your blood type? Which archetype made you feel, this is me? Or is there a part that felt hard to face because it touched something deep? We're building a community not just of people learning psychology, but of souls awakening through symbol, through story, through honest dialogue. If topics like Jung's symbolism, shadow work, and archetypes stir something in you, hit subscribe. Not to follow a channel, but to walk your own path of awakening side by side with others who are also searching. And finally, remember your blood is not just where life flows. It's where the memory of your ancestors, the lessons of your soul, and the quiet call to maturity are already whispering within you. What have you heard on this journey?